I'm going to do something a little different. I know everybody been wanting me to talk about George Floyd, and I have, and I will continue at some point. But it's something I think that we need to talk about that's from a historic standpoint. There's always been people who have taken advantage of our pain or the media and law enforcement manipulation of the images when they come down to our community. A large number of these men and women and even children, and when I say children, I mean teenagers and whatnot, who are participating in these uprisings or just looting. Let's just call it looting. A lot of them don't give a damn about George Floyd. They don't give a damn about the black community. They out here just destroying things because they want to make us the boogeyman. Just a few weeks ago, we saw white folks across the country protest with weapons. And they didn't do no tear gas. They didn't call no National Guard in. In fact, those small group of white people got governors and mayors across the country changing the way they're going to handle this pandemic. But you kill us, you bring the police in, the riot, you call the military in. That's done on purpose. And a lot of these people supposed to be protesting are not black. Yes, are there black people protesting? But like any other historical uprising or riot, whatever term you want to use, that have been agent provocateurs. And if you've been watching the news, you know that it ain't all us. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm suspicious of them. And a lot of these people may mean well, but I think a lot of this is that people are using this to get out the house because of the pandemic. Cause my thing is, where were they at last year? Where was that the year before that? Where was all these white people at when black folks have been murdered? And this ain't the first time somebody black has been murdered unjustly or been on camera. And you talk about the hypocrisy of this country. So when black people say, yo, police officers doing this, y'all only respond when y'all visually see it. So it tells you they're not being genuine, at least in my opinion. How many times have I done these commentaries and I said every week there's a story somewhere around the country where somebody is misusing us or mistreating us? We saw what that white lady did to that brother, and the brother turned around like, well, I forgive her. I don't know if such a... Nah, man. She was going to weaponize her whiteness to get you her or get you put in jail. And then there's a story that the media didn't want to talk about. The mother who killed her child said that somebody black did it. Or the guy that was secretly gay said he was kidnapped. How many more stories do we have to hear every week? If it's not adults, it's teenagers. If it's not teenagers, it's 7th and 8th graders. So when I see all these white folk talking about Black Lives Matter, they may mean it, but where's that consistency at? Excuse me. But during the process of this, you have people breaking in stuff, burning up stuff. There's even an image of a cop, and I saw it on the internet where this dude, his wife dimed him out. And I've talked about this for years since I've been on YouTube and whatnot, that there are people who see this as opportunity to go in and cause destruction and paint the image that the black community is more destructive. This is nothing new. I'm watching the news, and last night, I'm glad Don Lemon, who I can't stand, pointed out that, hey, that area where all the looting's going on, all the rioting, that's a predominantly white neighborhood. This morning, Joy Reid on MSNBC had to correct Joe Scarborough and them. They talking about riots, because Joe focused on the riot. It's making black people look bad. Wait a minute, black people look bad when we don't do anything. And Joy said, she said, that's not a riot. A riot is 1921, when they massacred, destroyed the town. That's a riot. Dr. King warned of this stuff 54 years ago. 2 years later, he was assassinated. I want you guys to look at some images and tell me how history constantly repeats itself. Now, obviously, because I'm from Illinois, from Chicagoland area, I'm going to reference some images and tell you how this is playing out over and over in the country. This is the West Side of Chicago, April 1968. A day after King's assassination. Because the day that King was assassinated, nothing happened. You had a few people break some windows and stuff, but it wasn't until the next day that it sunk in and you had people take advantage of it. This is Western Avenue. Now, these structures that you see are no longer here. That building, long gone before I was a kid, because that's a vacant lot. The restaurant next to it, that's been long gone. That's a vacant lot. That building in the back, that housing project, they tore that down within the last 15 years. When I was a little boy, that building sat there for years. If you're taking the Eisenhower, what used to be called the Congress Expressway, or if you're driving down Western Avenue, that was one of the many housing projects on the west side. That was a relatively new building right there. That's gone because they gentrifying the area. Now, even though these two buildings on the right are gone, that I recognize them, the remaining landmarks in these pictures, because some of those structures or some of those sites stayed vacant for years. And the thing is that I've met people who live in that area or knew people. They said a lot of them places was burnt up by the store owners, by the people that own the property, or their children, or they went to neighborhood kids and said, y'all can go ahead and take whatever you want as long as you help burn the building down. And who's going to go down and out to the police? And then you had Mayor Daley seeing them. They knew what was going on. Just like going on today, when they let that police station burn, they pulled the police out of there. They said safety. And the other time police was deep. They brought the National Guard in. They did that on purpose to make a psychological thing to tell those who believe what the police are right all the time. Look what they're doing to our police. That's why Donald Trump made the comment he made about shooting people. And then today he tried to walk it back, and people say, "Yo, man, we know you racist, but you out there selling like these people from the 1960s." Mary Daley told you that if you see anybody with a Molotov cocktail, shoot to kill, shoot the man. This is the West Side. These burnt out buildings, vacant lots are still like this. People lived in these places. Businesses was in these areas. Gone. Now they waited 50-something years to start gentrifying the neighborhood. This is another street. This is Roosevelt Road. This looked like Roosevelt Road. It could be Madison, but I think this is Roosevelt Road. Based on some of the buildings that are still sitting in the area on that part of Roosevelt. A lot of the people that lived in that area was complaining. They knew that once the riots happened, those buildings caught, they wasn't coming back. Some of these people had to leave that town, that part of town forever. They had to either move back south, or they moved on the south side, which areas they could move into, or they moved out to the suburbs, was letting blacks live into the suburbs, or they went to other states. My parents told me what it was like that month of April. They told me what it was like to see the smoke everywhere. Walked outside, you're coughing. There are people who lived all the way in Oak Park, Illinois, can see the smoke. There are people all the way on the far south side can see it. And they had orders at the top, let those structures burn. Just like they did during the Los Angeles riots and these other so-called riots. You had Asian provocateurs. You had people who did not live in the neighborhood, but they had business in the neighborhood. You had people who drove from other parts of town and said, we're going to go in there and loot. This is Madison. I know this all welcome. The high school I went to is just around the corner. This on the corner, on this right hand side, it was a movie theater. And there was a bank that sat there for years. Now it's a CVS on that site, but they since closed it up. See, I know my history because I go and do my research and I talk to people. All these buildings are gone except this building right there where the fire. You see where the fire truck at? That building is the only thing that's still sitting there. All these other units, they're gone. All this other stuff is gone. This is Madison. You see that sign back in the back, that weird look that said GOLD? It's called Goldblatt's. They've been out of business for years now. But this is on the west side. You see that big building right there in the corner? That probably one of the few buildings standing. And then there's another one right next down with the like an Art Deco type building. Those are a handful of buildings in that area. But you see all these businesses in the neighborhood? Those who had business, they wanted to get out of the neighborhood and go to the western or southern suburbs, or they want to try to rebuild and it didn't work because the city said, you know what, nobody want to invest in there, and they hid behind that for 50 some years. It was that Oprah Winfrey and Michael Jordan came to Chicago and did what they did. The people said, we're gonna go down Madison. We're going to go down Western and Warren Boulevard and Jackson and whatever, and we're going to start investing in the community. And they pushing black folks out of there. And they doing the same thing today, but we ain't learned our lesson. Because what happened is they take a tragedy and they say, let's use this to our advantage, shall we? This is near the United Center where the Chicago City used to be at. This Walgreens, this building was here, just sat there until I was out of high school. The buildings next to it, guess what those buildings are? The old Black Panther headquarters. That building in the far back, all the way in the back behind the CTA bus, that building is still sitting there. This is on Madison. Go over there now. It is heavily gentrified. Condos and everything. And unfortunately, some of our brothers and sisters doing what they doing today, they've sat back and decided, I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm sorry, you're hurting your communities when you do it. But at the same time, you got agent provocateurs coming in, breaking windows, setting fires. This is one of the, I don't know what street, I can't tell you what street this is on the west side, but it's in the K-Town area. I know that for a fact. Based off the buildings that still sit there, that falling apart or barely holding on. You see how the Chicago police got the guns out, ready to shoot to kill. What's going on today? Police officers got their weapons out to shoot to kill. They know we're traumatized. They know that seeing that brother die, like to beg for his life, they know that set something off. And other people say, let's take advantage of this. Remember, Dr. King was assassinated 52 years ago. He lived in Chicago 54 years ago. He warned us. He was marching and got hit in the head with a rock. He lived on that side of town. He saw firsthand what they was doing. They did that in the 1960s. Nothing changed in the 70s. Nothing changed in the 80s. Stuff started to slowly change in the 90s. But in the 2000s, when most of us was out of high school, out of college, and moved on to different areas, they said, now we got them. The brothers and sisters that come behind us, a lot of them don't have that knock if they wasn't told. This is why when I see them on TV doing this stuff, yelling, getting in front of the camera, I say, y'all being manipulated. Because if you notice, the brothers and sisters in the mid-90s, they had uprisings and stuff. We didn't tear the neighborhoods up like that. We marched. Because we learned the lesson. We said, we're not going to do what they did in 91. Because we know there wasn't all black folks doing that. We know how they're going to manipulate images. We're not going to do what they did in 68 and 65 and so forth. We ain't going to do what they did in Watson and Detroit and them. That's what they're waiting for. If you guys remember watching The Last Dance and Charles Barkley joking about, you ain't got to put no boards or something on the window. He was laughing at that shit. That shit wasn't funny. When the Bulls won their first championship, you had people coming off from Oak Park, Berwyn, Cicero, North Riverside, Galewood, or across the Central Avenue Bridge over in Fullerton and so forth, coming into the so-called hood, driving down North Avenue, Chicago Avenue, Madison, Roosevelt, Cermak. They was coming from everywhere to come converge on the west side. Now, mind you, I'll never forget that night. Now, I was working, and I remember the city, they had this, that was something later on. That was the first championship. They were breaking into stores. My late cousin did the dum-dum. He's celebrating. My mom and dad called him like, hey, what you doing all that stuff? We know you didn't buy that. Put that shit on the ground. And I just looked at him, I was like, dude, you stupid, man. But if everybody else doing it, I said, notice the color of them doing it. They won't let you go in their neighborhoods and do nothing like that. They'll come in our neighborhoods and get us riled up, or somebody come in on the sneak and throw a bottle, break a window, and tear a gate down or whatever. Every time something major go down in the city, they lock the black community up. They don't do that to the Hispanic community. They damn sure don't do that to the Asian or Hindu or white community. The other night, me and my siblings, we decided to go out for a ride. We drove into the city, went up to the north side. They got police everywhere. And right now, I guarantee there's more police out tonight than it was the other night. Because they're not going to let you come up there and tear their neighborhoods up. Oh, they'll drive to your neighborhood, throw trash and all kinds of stuff. They come in, looking to buy drugs. They're looking to come in and rape your women, children, kill your men, deface your neighborhoods. But they don't let you come to their neighborhoods like that. They're going to stop. And you would think we would get it. You would think that we would understand it. That's why when I'm looking at the news, I'm like, it's a flashback. Even though I wasn't born in 68. I've heard enough stories. I saw enough documentaries coming up, read enough books, talked to enough people. And even though I didn't live in Los Angeles during the Los Angeles riots, I remember watching the TV. And there was other riots throughout the years, other so-called uprisings and things. And that stuff, as a kid, you file it away in your brain. And you start to pay attention to certain things, patterns. Like if you notice all the stuff that's been going on in Chicago, you don't hear about nobody in Chicago, nobody in the black community going crazy, because we know better. When they had them summits, those white kids and the people from other states came in, was throwing rocks and balls, attacking the police officers. But the media downplayed because it wasn't sexy enough, make it a racial thing. People get a hard on, they get wet between the legs when they see them gear up and come in our community. Who, they gonna shoot some niggers or not? This is another image. This is on Madison. Now, the thing is, this is the thing that gets me. All these buildings that's in the background. You see this restaurant at right here? Now, this is the thing. They had another restaurant. I'll show you the beginning of the commentary, just like this, right? All that's gone. Only building that sits here is this building Moons. This restaurant still sits here. It's still a functional restaurant. The family still own this. They sell breakfast stuff. You see the brothers and the kids, they go out there and they was waiting for that place to open. The same family, they did a report 3 years ago. Mark Sapelso used to work for WGN before he went and moved, retired, and went to I think Minneapolis somewhere. He was somewhere, I believe. Minneapolis, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. No, Montana. He went to Montana. But anyways, all these businesses are gone. Housing projects have been torn down. This is the only structure over there. But guess what? They're white. It's funny how everything else burnt down around or certain business that was in businesses that didn't that to survive. They ran out of the neighborhood. But now go over there now on the west side. They didn't built it all up. They got smart. You hear about the stories of them going in New York, how neighborhoods were predominantly blacks. Now the trust fund babies are moving up in there, and they calling the police on the people that have been there for years. They're making noise. They doing this. And they do these things, and they hide behind these type of events, and we keep falling for it. Look, let me say this to my brothers and sisters. You have every right to be angry. I'm angry, but don't let them manipulate y'all to go out there and get in front of the cameras and throw up gang signs or get in front of the camera and curse and get loud and argue with people. No, we got to change our tactics. Look how President Trump, they talking about we don't want nobody to do no mail-in votes. Why? As I said in other commentaries, we're not a minority. It's more of us in this country, on this planet, than y'all think. He knows he's going to lose the election. That's why he's been out here saying stuff and doing things. This is why he's going now. He's want to go after social media. Twitter should have banned his ass the moment he was running. He's been saying all kinds of crazy stuff for years. If you and I said half the things, we'd have lost our counts. And half of us have lost our counts over the years and never have said the things he said. This morning, at 1:30 in the morning, he put that tweet out about shooting. And then today, I didn't know where it came from. He's a baby boomer. He was old enough to know what was going on, what was being said in the 60s. He was a grown man before the 1960s was over. Do the math. He was well into his early 20s. This is the corner of Madison and Western. Like I said, a lot of these landmarks I remember as a kid. A lot of these buildings are gone, but the lots of stuff that you driving long enough, you say, okay, I remember that building on that corner. I remember that. People say, well, why do people destroying their neighborhoods? Well, frustration. And you have to understand the people who had business in the community didn't respect you. They didn't invest back in the community, so they said, what the F? Now, I'm not condoning tearing down your neighbor because you hurt yourself, because these corporations and them can hide behind and say, well, we had business in the neighborhood and they tore it up. But I want you to look at your television again. I want you to pick up your history books again. I want you to look at them old videos and stuff and see who's doing what. And everybody in our community all the business wasn't white. There were black people that lost businesses as well. But don't think that the city and them didn't or people didn't have their part in destroying the area. Here it is. Chicago can put out all kinds of footage, but of 1968. But when it gets down to April of 1968, we don't have no footage of that. It's got lost. But you got the '68 convention riots. You got everything prior to that. The national networks, every now and then, we had lost footage. They don't want to show it because they don't want people to say, wait a minute, this is going on when our parents were kids. This is going on when our grandparents are still alive, our great-grandparents. Oh, we didn't have the internet back then. We didn't have cell phone. We didn't have all the stuff that we take for granted. Like I said, when I got into fast food, I would talk to the people that lived in the area. And you strike a conversation with some of the older folk. Or even the white folk before I got to age where white folks are still in the neighborhood. They say, oh yeah, I remember this side of town looked totally different back then. And you halfway expect them to say, so a lot of them say, it's sad what happened, what they did in the 60s. And you're like, what do you mean? This old white gentleman told me years ago, he said, yeah, I hate to say it, but black folks didn't go no further than Chicago Avenue. And that was risky in itself. They did not be up on North Avenue. There's basically near what the United Center is today. They went no further than probably Costner at best. I mean, think about this. 50 something, over the last 50 something years, we've seen cities catch on fire because of somebody's murder, and usually it's a black person murder. And seeing the image, seeing people run out of the Target and stores, it wasn't black folk. Yeah, they made sure they tried to show black, but when they saw it was Hispanics and whites and Asians and others, they quickly cut the camera away. And then they give this morning, the rioting is wrong. Yeah, it was wrong then, but when white folks do it all the time, I don't see y'all out here lecturing them. When they win sporting events, they blow up stuff, flip cars. I don't hear y'all lecturing them. Y'all want to lecture us because you got idiots at home like, look at them destroying their community. Black on black violence. They don't use these terms they describe their communities or their people. And you get black folk get on TV trying to explain it, white explain it for them. Yeah, in the black community, poverty, just because they poor don't mean that black folks are stupid. Or some black folks, let me rephrase it, because every black person is not poor. It's just that some brothers and sisters get out of the neighborhood or refuse to move the area they grew up in. There's nothing wrong with that. When I go in that city and visit that, I ain't gonna lie, I tear up. I'm like, they pushing us out. A lot of the history, a lot of stuff that we fought for, they doing it, and they doing it across the country. Now all of a sudden hear people talk gentrification. And the irony is, the very people they help gentrify or pushes out of some neighborhoods, now they getting their ninja moment. I was watching the news the last 2 years. You had people up on the north side, or what they consider the north side. They helped make sure we stayed out of those neighborhoods, and they went in there. Now they getting pushed out. They being pushed out, and now they like, we gotta preserve our areas. Yeah, but at the expense of who? They didn't pay people to come in our community and bring drugs and guns in our community. And then when something tragic happened, they're like, okay, this is our chance, guys. This is Roosevelt and Costner. Want to know how I know? Because some of these buildings are still sitting there. That gas station is not a stand. It ain't been a stand in years. But the building across the street from it, those buildings was right across the street, they tore them down. That's when Mayor Lightfoot wanted to potentially put the casino, when she was talking about one of the casinos back before all this stuff happened. Because that side of town needed, because the west side was economically destroyed. And it's not that far from Cicero, Illinois. The irony is, if you cross the other side of the street, that's Cicero, Illinois. That's where they was marching at, and y'all probably saw that. If you remember on my old channel, that black and white footage I showed you guys of the marching and fighting and stuff. That street right there was that line that black folks, you dare not cross. On the side where it says standard, and in this weird high zone, on this side where it says standard, that's all Chicago. Over in the building in the corner right there, that's all Chicago going back. But if you're on this side where you see, you might make out that car, and that's a squad car to look like, the little imprint of that car, that's Cicero. And you notice you don't see nobody effing around in that area. That's how I know that area, because a lot of them buildings stood up until the last 10 years or so. Because a lot of them factories are still in functioning today over there. See, a lot of people don't see. This is why I keep telling y'all: know your history, know the neighborhoods. Ask yourself why certain neighborhoods, certain places was not touched. You don't see the military up on this corner. They dare not. They'll sit next to Cicero, Illinois, because New Cicero came in and started shooting people dead. Ask yourself why when they waited to call the National Guard in Minnesota. They knew it was going to happen. They knew that it was going to get somebody riled up, the media, and somebody going to say, we got to go out here, we got to do something about this. And a lot of times, this ain't black folks leading these they be a protest, And you might got some young brothers and sisters out there that's doing their dirt. I'm not gonna make it like we all innocent, but looking at the footage and looking at some of the stuff on the internet, there's people recording. Yeah, Asian provocateurs. And this is another part of Madison and Western. Now, those other images I showed y'all, those are the days after the riots. This is when it started up. You don't see nobody in the streets just yet. You see the buses are still running. You see that? That's that building I was telling you, still sitting there, that big building right there. A lot of these buildings right here, they got just recently got torn down. You see that bus further down? That's going towards Madison and Western. You don't see nobody out. You don't see nothing destroyed yet because it was just building up. Because they was hitting Madison. They was hitting them stores, those appliance stores. They was hitting the television, the stores with the televisions. They was hitting the clothing stores. They was hitting the car dealerships. See, those men and women who are now in their 70s and 80s, we better talk to them about our history because the local media ain't going to talk about this. Because I tell people you should learn from what was going on back then. That's why you would never ever see me out doing stuff like that. Number one, I ain't going to risk my life. Number two, I'm not about to destroy my community. Number three, I'm not going to give them anything to manipulate the masses of people. That's why for nearly a decade, oh, Chicago. Yeah, in Chicago, these mean murders. Chicago's always been a violent place. As soon as we get a black president, now you want to talk about Chicago every day. But nobody does anything to come here to help. Oh, you come eat some food, watch some sports, watch a concert, then you out of here. These celebrities are all of a sudden talking about what's going on. Where were you at last week? Everything since this pandemic been going on, it's been a media manipulation. They've been to keep people like, oh, such and such is talking about this. Oh, they really do care. No. I keep telling y'all, things don't happen by accident. It's sad that 52 years ago, the same things happening 52 years later. During the 70s, with the forced busing, people moving into neighborhoods, schools changing. I remember when my parents bought their first house. The area of the West Side moved in, it was still white folk, large number of white folk. And overnight they ran out of there. And the older whites that stayed up in there, they stayed because they either paid for their home or they figured we ain't running. But after a while, their kids either got them out of there or they died. I remember when we used to go off campus for lunch. And a few idiots did something and they locked all the city schools down, well, at least on the west and south side. Going on the north side, they still go off campus for lunch. See, we suffer at somebody's hatred and somebody willing to be opportunistic. So when I'm seeing all this stuff going on in Minnesota, these other parts of the country, it's not new. This is why I keep telling y'all, control your dollar, know your history. And I know people have this argument about voting, but I really do think that if enough blacks vote and we stay on people and we put people in who think like us, who look like us in these positions, things will change. But when you keep acquiescing to other people in other communities, they're going to screw us over. You know damn well if I was a cop and you was a cop, and we did to a white person, we'd have got arrested immediately. We would have got put in jail, got locked up. We did the perk walk. These police unions need to be broken up. These corporations need to be broken up because they're doing it at our expense. If I'm not mistaken, this is Roosevelt Road. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, because this is those wires. Because the CTA, before they all went to gas bus, they run the trolleys. The bus used to run on these different lines and stuff. The old Chicago squad car and everything. You see these white guys right here. More than likely, they was the owners of the building, or they was construction coming in. Because you see trucks in the background immediately after the riots. Daily sent trucks. Now, mind you, you can send these trucks in to go get this rubble up, but you couldn't send garbage trucks in to get the garbage up. It's the same Daily that they like to romanticize in movies. Old man Daily, then his son became mayor in '89 and just destroyed the black community. Then Rahm Emanuel come in. And now you got Mayor Lightfoot trying to rectify. She's getting attacked from all angles. And guess who's doing the attacking? The Hispanic community, certain elements of the gay community. History keeps repeating itself, and we keep falling for the okie doke. So yes, should you be mad that brother died? Yes. But don't get out there and be protesting that way. If you're going to protest, you need to do it a different way. Don't let these people get you all riled, yelling and marching and running into damn tear gas and rubber bullets. Don't do that. Too many people co-opt our techniques. There's other ways we can show force and use the media to our advantage. See, don't let them get you emotional and get you off your game. Do not let them manipulate you. I mean, 52 years ago, nothing's really changed. Racism is a sickness that we don't want to get a cure for. People get off on seeing us beg for our life. They get off on seeing us cry. They get off on us being miseducated. They get off on us being fearful of doctors. You keep us in a disarray. You got control. You got influence. I want to pull this image up because I know this stretch right here. This is Madison. Madison in the street right here is Holman. Because this is Garfield Park right here. Because a lot of them, they shoot Chicago PD episodes up in here. Now, if you walk down here, you got some government housing. You got a building here and there. All these buildings are gone. All this shit is gone. And if anybody know their history, know the Chicago police made sure they did not go past Holman on Madison. They made sure they kept from Holman all the way down to at least Ogden. Or at least down to Skid Row, which was formerly known as Skid Row. I show those images because in Minnesota, they said, they said 14 targets are closed. So you mean they hit all the targets in that area? Now they hit one or two. Okay, then I get those one or two. Maybe not be opening back up anytime soon. But if I remember, I think they said like 14 targets or so were closed. The Cub Foods, and I didn't even think they had Cub Foods anymore. They took the S off because the Cubs used to be up in Illinois in the Chicago area too. But they closed that down. The AutoZone, all these different places they said foreseeable future are shut down. Yeah, if they damaged beyond repair, yeah, I get that. But see, they're afraid that these white folk and them gonna take advantage of this shit and go in these other neighborhoods. But they making sure they're gonna make black folk the face it because it's a dead black man. People protesting around the country. All I say is, where were y'all at last week? Where were y'all at when that video came out of those three white men when they shot that brother dead, or the sister was shot in her own apartment? Where's that anger at Laquan McDonald? The Chicago National Media thought the police are ready for a riot. And I told y'all they wasn't gonna riot. Not here in Chicago. That fight that brother and sisters had at one time, it's gone. After 1968, after 1991, that mindset is gone. A lot of people are up in age. A lot of people are dead now, or they just want to be left alone. And those of us who are their children and grandchildren, we trying to fight another way. Those of us Gen Xers, we stuck in the middle. It's ways that we can get control of our neighborhoods, these businesses, and we can get these prosecutors, defense teams that work. I mean, look what happened with Trayvon Martin. How the defense worked with the prosecution and let George Zimmerman get away with what he did. And let me go a step further, folks. If you're gonna you're gonna tear something down, go after the motherfuckers where they live, the ones that caused this. Don't destroy your own community. And y'all saw how the police department was protecting that bastard. And I said now, and I said again, it's time for us as black folk. If you ain't got no criminal record, go apply for your gun. Go apply for your gun permit. Get your gun. And when people coming out of neighborhoods fucking around, send them back out with their tail between their legs. The other communities do it. We're the only one that keep begging the same people who for hundreds of years who have victimized us to protect us. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I know somebody gonna say, well, they're good police officers. Yeah, I get that. And a lot of police officers are scared because they outnumbered, because they're not gonna get backed up. You have police officers telling governors and them, we're not gonna force these laws. That's against people's freedom of speech and constitutional rights. But yet, when we say the same thing, well, you get no rights. How many of us have seen black people just blade the law enforcement commands and they still manhandle us? Yes, I have family and friends in law enforcement. My brother was in law enforcement. I have family friends in the military. We know rules of engagement. We know what they did to that man was murder. Why do you think they killed Christopher Dorner? They didn't want to make the perp walk. Christopher Dorner said, yo, this is going on with the police department. And they like, we can't make that black man get away with it. He has police training and military training. He's a threat. We got to take him out. You notice any black person that has that kind of training, they vilify to the point so when they kill him, immediately nobody question anything. How many of us in public say, you know, why didn't Christopher Dorner get to do the perp walk like everybody else did? He was in the military and law enforcement, and he saw firsthand what they was doing in law enforcement. They damn sure didn't want him to speak. And this stuff happened in Dallas. Chicago got the former police chief. He's now the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department. They killed that brother in that parking garage. They sent that robot in. There's a reason why. And then when people like myself talk about history and look at patterns, they want to play us like we crazy. Oh, you know what you're talking about. What's your education? Did you got a PhD? What university you went to? And all I'm just telling people, look at the pattern. You ain't got to believe me. Open your eyes. Look at the news. Look who's doing all the yelling and screaming. Look who's throwing and breaking the bricks. Look who's causing the fires and destruction of businesses. For years, people said, hey, that person don't live in the community. Why is that person over there on that building? Hey, we saw a guy throw a Molotov cocktail. I'm telling you, when I was a kid growing up, those adults would say, yo, that stuff that you hear the teacher say or don't say, we know better. We know who did what at what given time. People are using George Floyd's murder as a way to circumvent this COVID thing. All of a sudden, people who are non-black are upset, and all of a sudden, everybody seems like you have people who are conservative on TV because there's an election cycle and they don't want to be seen as racist because they want to manipulate the mass because they know they in trouble in their various districts. So they say, oh, we got to speak out about this horrible murder. Well, as I said before, where were you at last week? Where was that outrage? Where were y'all at? Y'all didn't go out there to where the brother was shot at by those people and march in those areas and stuff. Y'all didn't take to the streets then. No. Y'all hiding behind because y'all want to get out because of the COVID. That's what it is. And they figured let's go out and cause misdirection at the same time. Now, if you think I'm reaching, just keep watching the news. Keep looking at the images. Ask yourself, where were all these people at the last 10, 12 years? Now, some of them were not of age. I get that. But those, if you in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, and your 50s, and 60s, where were you? Laquan McDonald was shot down on camera, and his legal defense team was trying to vilify that kid. Where were y'all at? Y'all had something to say about Jussie Smollett? You had the mayor of Mississippi defend the cops. There are people out here that think that we supposed to forever be slaves. And I know people say, I ain't no slave, but they think of you that way. They don't think that you're supposed to have an opinion or feelings or supposed to express yourself or walk or move freely. The owner of that store that called them cops and he passed off some money, you could have reported the guy. You could have said, here, officer, we got security footage, and let him take it from there. No, you quit it on that. We got a guy doing something, and then get on TV and play like they're the victim. And for you kumbaya Negroes out here, how that been working for us? The cops need to be in jail. And if not worse, I'm being honest with you, because these police officers constantly get away with this shit. And then I hear people say, well, no, we ain't talking about good cops. We talking about the bad ones. Stop doing that. That's like when people talk about racists. They're good white people. We ain't talking about the good white. Talk about the ones who are bad. And I guarantee the cops have done this before. Because they saw themselves being recorded. They didn't care. That brother was begging for us like Cortez, his dead mama. And everybody kept saying, oh, he's sweating. That's water. No, that was urine coming. That man's body went limp. He died. His body function ceased. He pissed on himself. That stream of liquid, that was urine. Believe me, I've seen dead bodies before. I know how they smell when they get shot. I've seen them blown to pieces. That's American pastime. You don't never see no video of them shooting a white or doing that to a white person like that. If you do, they blur their face. Action is swift. Well, these people out here blowing up, tearing up stuff in Minnesota, they ain't all black folk. And like I said, I can't stand Don Lemon, but I'm glad he mentioned it. Because I'm like, won't somebody ever call this crap out? Because like I said in my previous videos, I've been talking about people coming into the communities, taking advantage of situations like this. They've been doing this stuff for years. They did it when King was in Memphis when they messed up and he was doing that march for the garbage, the striking garbage men. And unfortunately, some of them look just like you and I, and they don't realize they had aided in King's assassination. Because King, the media went in on him. They got to King. They got to his hubris. They like, King had to prove himself. King would have never been in Memphis at that time if those Negroes and some of those white Asian provocateurs didn't do what they did. Dr. King probably would have lived a long life. People never think about that. But then again, maybe those events had to happen to create some other events, to create different laws and stuff. But right now, that ain't working. Because Donald Trump made sure they put so many conservative men and women who are my age or just a little bit younger in these key positions. And don't think that these teenagers who get on social media like, I didn't know what I was doing. Every day we talk about these things offend us and bother us. They say, I didn't know. How can you not know? Don't let them use you. Don't let them manipulate you. And I want to do a shout out to Torian Rain. He did a commentary about Cicero, Illinois, the sundown town. And because people heard me talk about Cicero and talk about Al Capone connections, all that stuff, different race riots and stuff, things that we should be talking about to this day because it still happened. A lot of people are like, why you bring up stuff about that happened 50 years ago? Because this stuff keeps repeating itself. And if you don't talk about it, people are going to keep doing the dumb things. That's why when I hear black people like, I just can't believe I worked to work. I didn't know he was racist. I never thought she would say that. Every week they find a way to say we the villain of the story. I mean, a woman had an autistic child. She couldn't handle it, so she said black people kidnapped and killed the kid. That's what they go to. They say we the worst of the worst. One of these days, we're going to get it in our head to stop pushing back against these type of negative images. But the thing is, you got to understand history. Understand that they learned. They learned from their parents, their grandparents. They learned from watching TV. Oh, say they did it. Burn the community down. Say they did it. They get blamed for it. I keep telling y'all, all this stuff is connected. That's why I keep telling y'all, control your dollar. Know your history. And yes, I understand that people are apathetic to voting. I get it. I understand it. But I warned y'all that was going to happen during the Obama years. Because you ain't gonna get a return on your investment. And now everybody like, I ain't voting. Such and such. And you got people out here manipulating, talking about Biden and all. So why all of a sudden y'all calling this man racist and stuff? Because Kamala Harris brought something up. And because people putting up memes and stuff. I know exactly what they're doing. I'd rather have Biden in that office than that Trump. But Trump is trying to star. So he's throwing everything up to see what sticks on the wall. He's throwing everything up against the wall to see what sticks. He put out code this morning. Thugs. You ain't heard that one in a while. Thugs. And shoot. He knew exactly doing it. Because he knows one of his supporters or somebody's leaning Trump ain't playing with a full debt or don't understand history or can't empathize with anybody but their own communities. And they said, we're going to go do something about these people. And the police department ain't gonna never investigate these agent you know what I mean, provocateurs. They're not gonna do it. Even though history shows us that there are people who cause a lot of damage. That's why I was showing y'all the images of Chicago in 1968. This is why I was showing y'all these things, because there were people out here doing dirt then, causing destruction. They want to manipulate. They want to manipulate certain things. They know exactly what they're doing. One of these days, we're going to wake up as a people and see it. This is why I get frustrated with some of our brothers and sisters who have made it. You get around people that don't have nothing to do with you. Oh, this is my friend. This is my ally. Hey, I know such and such. And then when they get tired of you, they throw you right back to the community. It bothers me that we have not learned from our history. Video, audio, images that exist that you can find on the internet does tell a story. But it shouldn't take the death of a black person for people to use this as a way of committing crimes and robbing and stealing from people. And yes, I know there are people who are not well educated. There are people as poor who see this as an opportunity. I get it. I understand it. That doesn't mean I agree with it. Like I said, when I look at some of these images, and I look at some of the buildings that were standing way until I was well into my 20s. And this image right here keeps getting me because that Walgreens stood there ready all the way up until the 2000s. And those buildings next to it, those were the Black Panther headquarters. There's no plaque there. There's nothing to even acknowledge it. There's a McDonald's and a gas station and a vacant lot now. All that history that and they don't want to talk about that. They don't want people to start investigating, looking at old film footage and saying, wait a minute, that was that? Those people did that? This was going on in the neighborhood? Hey, let's go see those kids who picture here who are now, what, in their 60s and in their 70s and 80s. Let's go talk to them and see what's going on. Hey, what was it like during that time? What did you see? What did you notice? What happened to all the businesses? Why didn't those landlords, those people, be made paid the restitution? And even if those people are long dead, they got family that's still here. Why aren't they made to pay restitution? They help destroy our community. They help destroy our neighborhoods. They did it on purpose. And they take advantage of a person's death to do it. You got other people come in like, oh, the hell with it. We're going to go in their neighborhoods and tear it up. Woohoo! And then when people like myself point this out, you guys are being paranoid. I can just imagine what it was like for my parents. No, it don't take much imagine because I can turn on the TV now and see what they're doing across certain parts of the country. You would think after 1991, after the Rodney King thing, what was it, 92, excuse me, I keep saying 91, I mean 90, the Bulls in 91 and Rodney King thing in 92, we would have got hip to this. I remember when the Rodney King happened, it wasn't just blacks doing it. I remember you had Mexicans, everybody, but they'll show the images of just us. Because you got to constantly paint the black community as the worst of the worst. And yet, even if there are brothers and sisters who participate in this out of anger or opportunistic nature, we got to call them out and say, yo, what y'all doing is wrong, man. But I understand where you're coming from, but I don't agree with it. But don't let them use George Floyd's death or any of these other brothers and sisters, young or old, who have lost their lives. Don't let them manipulate people. Don't let them manipulate you. Don't let people use this to hide because they want to get out the house. We tired of being cooped up. We're going to go out here and pretend like we support these people. Then come election, where they at? It's sad that we still repeating the same mistakes that our parents and grandparents dealt with so many years ago.